Hello. We 290637 are in dire need of a review. Should be 30612. Should be this one. I wanted to trade today. There was no time, and you learn more from the review than you do actually trading for the most part. And my computer's about to explode. Okay, 2906. I'll do a brush up here because I went negative 200 yesterday, and I should have done that because I had it down pat for the most part. So I'm just going to review the trades and then I'll write them down later, if that makes sense. I have half of this one coming in, and then I have maybe a little over 2 hours, maybe even, yeah, 2 to 3 hours of tape from the other trades. So there's a sell program here. We're trending lower. Tape stops a bit, then we rally up. That aggressive buyer is what I'm looking for. Notice how we're kind of holding the floor there. Sellers got absorbed at 74. I'm looking for upticking now. If we come back down after the absorption at 74, I'm not interested in the trade. I should move my stop to 74 here in hindsight. Yeah, so it's not moving enough for me. That's why I get out, especially because I'm against the trade, so it has to be a short leash. Short leash. I'm against the movement in the market. We're in this low volume node here. Price is selling off. It's 849. Movement is primarily Q driven. Something like, from a context perspective, the majority of unidirectional moves happen overnight. So it's a great opportunity for price to run in one direction. That was a beautiful scratch, cutting that early, especially when it didn't do what I want. This order 75 should push price lower, the stack on the Q. If it doesn't, that's a sign of strength. There's big absorption, 74, 75 from buyers who tried to pull it. That's an indication of strength, sell side. I flip long here because I don't realize that. Notice how there's so much absorption there. 56, there's an iceberg order there. Price pukes lower off of the absorption, especially in that contextual environment. I have to write this down. S big order, SABS, contextual down move, two trades against trend. That is limit driven selling. Just to write out what happened. Large sell order showed up. So these trades here are as she go trades, assuming there's enough momentum as she goes. As she goes is just getting in and having price sell off like that, which is where I made a lot of my money in the past couple days. I was really excited that I had two big back-to-back winning days, and then only to pull up a negative is so infuriating. But I kind of deserved it. I wasn't in the right headspace, and I've been a bit tilted ever since. Eventually, I'm going to get to the point where I can just trade the ladder off a laptop in like a coffee shop. It's going to be very easy. That's coming soon. I already know it is. I'll send you a picture of me in a coffee shop making thousands of dollars in 5 minutes. So that was a fake spoof. Somebody absorbed beforehand and then pulled on the cube, which is, whatever. But notice how we stopped at 75. I'm trying to chase this low momentum as she goes trade with a 4 tick stop. Just on back ticking, buyers step in, a seller, if it would let me pause. Hello? I have to reverse it now. You see, that's the first time I've gotten mad at a recording. See, 57, 69, 12, 10 gets absorbed there. They rally. Sellers are getting absorbed here. Big absorption that steps in at 70, at 42. So there's the obvious size hiding here, but the market is moving so fast it's hard to make heads or tails of it. See the 80, the 48, the 162. It was convenient that my stop was there. Then we absorbed. So somebody absorbed before that spoof. They're coming and absorbing buy orders again here. So what that tells me is there's a big participant who is probably looking to manage a position. Either it's some sort of neutral exchange and that's why the size is so big there, or there's a big part, I don't know, or there's a big participant and he's trying to get in short and he's just eating everybody's size. But look how abnormal the print is at 70s. First of all, it's abnormal that it was absorbed, and it's abnormal that it's 162 in such a thin market. So it makes me think it was somebody working both sides of the order. Nonetheless, it was absorbed. Then we have sellers at 25 and 50, 10 and 12. And that big explosion in tape is where I want to get out, especially because tape exploded and the Q pulled, but value stuck at 68.50. Value through time, not from a profile perspective. But if price is sitting at 68.50 for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, that's a determinate point of value when it comes to smaller auctions. So 50 is, and the fact that value is shifting lower is good, but now we're moving up on sellers. And then the Q jolts again. We're still in this downtrend despite the volatility, which is actually good having tremendous volatility because it cuts both ways. I want to see if the 95 at 68.50 is going to pull, not pull, if it's going to plunge, thrust the Q up, or if the market's not going to react to it at all. If it doesn't react, that communicates heavy sell pressure. I want to see where that 92 came from on the prints. Yeah, so there's big absorption there now from buyers on sellers with a hidden Q. So somebody's obviously playing size games. 60.50, I want to see if that thrusts the Q up or if the market doesn't react. If it doesn't react, it's bearish. If the market does react, it's probably fake anyways. 68.50 and the grander scheme of a stronger downtrend. Yeah, so they immediately go after it, and then it trades, making it a real order. So the market's very bearish here. 69.50. If I were to get short, I'd get short at around 69 and then have a stop at 75, 69.75 for 4 ticks past where the absorption was. And then, but I didn't. So, and then huge size trades at 70 and is absorbed. And we're moving in the opposite direction now. Price stops at 71. I'm still holding that the prevailing general trend is to the downside. 70.50, 70 even is where the notch in the profile begins. And the more time we spend down at around 68.50, the odds that we run low of day is higher. And when that happens, because of how liquid the session is, it'll probably throw it lower by a tremendous amount. This is an alright trade. I agree with moving the stop. It's alright because it has the notch of 70 in it, which makes price move slower through it because it's a thicker part of the distribution. They fill me in, price immediately throws lower. There's a seller there. We rally up on low volume and absorb a buyer, but I'm mainly just watching the Q. Notice how we came up to 70 quickly and we came back down to 65, 69.50, sat there, and then the Q pulled, so sellers still want it lower. Now I'm looking to get out because I missed the initial plunge from the Q. Anytime there's a large turn and a large fast turn in your favor, get out on that because it's the reaction from order flow you were kind of looking for. You have to recalibrate if you want lower prices. You have to reassess price and think. And then you start stacking probabilities in your trades, and trade duration increases, and especially in a volatile environment like this, the odds that it jumps up 10 ticks in the opposite direction. First day I started trading last week, I watched price jump 20 ticks. That is the entire queue of buyers and sellers, the entire queue of sellers, because it was a buy, pulled 20 ticks on very low volume. So it was 20 ticks of non-existent liquidity where algorithms just leapfrogged each other out because they didn't want to facilitate liquidity there. $16, $12. That's good. The fact that sellers come in and we don't get off of it. A buyer gets hit there. That's even better. We're going for 166 even now. I agree with this trade. It looks good. We're gonna hit 66 and probably pull 2 ticks off of it, unless they can't fill here. If there's tremendous absorption at 50 and 25, then scratch. Yeah, that's what happened, was the absorption. So what's going to happen now is it's going to stop at 25. The market's going to probe liquidity around there, form a little bit of a distribution, then come back down to 66 even and hit it. Or it'll rally in the opposite direction, but I still think it hits 66 even. So it stopped at 69. Seller steps in. They step in again. The Q pulls 75 and 50. Sellers show up on the inside prints, and the Q pulls even further. And then it immediately, explodes to the low side off of inside prints, off of active sellers in the Q pulling. See how there's sellers there. And then those two sell orders that were holding the market up were actually fake, and they pull. And then somebody spoofs for a microsecond on the ask. So what I'm looking for now is if Price aggressively rallies in the opposite direction after running liquidity, which is what happens in the cash session. It probably won't happen here because we're low liquidity and the majority of the moves are downward. So I'm probably just going to catch momentum here. At around there's a distribution, probably a short at 63.50. There's a seller right there who pushed price lower. The Q jumped. Sellers get absorbed here. I would get 63.50 right here. And then I'd watch for it to exit the distribution at 62. So we're down to 62. It might be a good place to get out. If price sticks here too long, I'm not interested in it. We have to lose 62 for me to be in the trade. We're down at 61 now. We sit there a little bit temporarily. We came off at 63. Now we're at 62 even, forming balance. Tells me value is shifting lower. Now the question is, are they going to run low of day here? That depends on the order flow. I would get out here because it's the very end of the distribution. It was up at 63.50 is where I was looking for a short. And we've been in this trade for a while now. Value shifting lower though. A seller steps in low side, so they're going to rally it again. My only concern is the 61, the 89 at 61 on the ask, which pulls and halves, and then sellers show up at the bottom. So it would be time to punt here. Yeah. Realistically, if your take profit isn't however many ticks that is, you're gonna take a break even here because you missed the move on the Q pulling, but that's fine. We come back down to lows. 60 is the ceiling here for passive Q value here. I take a short on the back ticking down here, 58.75, because we can't get above it, which I agree with. Momentum slows there. That's why I get out. I agree with the trade. And then buyers step in. Lower again. I flip long off of that order in hopes that they fill it, and it's a spoof, so I have to get out now because the order was fake. It's just kind of luck that it turned in my favor relative to where value is. We're at the edge of the distribution. I traded off at my entry at 60.50, so get out here. Yeah. Even though it rallied, so what's going to happen now? Assuming liquidity pulled. We're just going to rally in a unidirectional fashion in the opposite direction. 61 is what I'm looking for, long ways. Or they don't, or they can't hold above 61, and that happens. We're back at lows. We're going to run it again. So this is just easy opportunity trades here because it's moving in one direction. I don't know if I stepped away here. I took a long off that big order. I have to watch how it behaves though. So 161 to 52. Yeah, good long there. Notice how price stops, big absorption, 52.25. This is the market, first of all, absorbing off of people front running that order. It's most likely one participant who's absorbing here. Also, the big size 228 is nuts. I don't know, why. I don't know what's going on, but mainly we're looking at the 84 that got absorbed. Then I flip long there. The order pulls, which tells me I'm wrong, so I'm looking to get out now. Value sticks after running it, though. That I disagree with. It's probably going to stop me out here. There's a real auction there, 202, 127. But that has nothing to do with the fact that the order pulled, and I got in because of the order, and they're giving me break even over and over again, which tells me, you know, if they're giving me the opportunity to scratch, you don't, that's not good. Yeah. Now we're looking for the 168. Probably might be the same trade here. Absorption again. Big size for some reason at 51. Absorbing buyers here again. It looks like somebody's either bidding or offloading their positions here. I don't know if people are like exchanging size here down at 50.75, but we came down to 50.50. We couldn't fill the order. Then price rallied a couple ticks. I'm looking for the short now. This is a good part of the distribution. 52.50, 52.75 would be a great place. But then the Q pulls. Meaning the move might be over until we hit a ceiling. Market makers want higher prices. I was originally looking for uh, that return pullback short to 52.82. Now I don't really know where price is going to go, aside from the fact that it's moving up, because we're in no man's land, and we're also chopping back and forth. So we're going to form what's called a phantom distribution. Price is going to sit in this range for a little while, which is why I punt long here. But then it pulls. I remember this trade now, I think, because I think I try to get long and it just sells off again. See, we're hitting 57.75 again. We're going back down. A buyer steps in there. Value sticks at 75. I just don't know enough about these conditions. But I do know there's upticking there. But they absorb buy pressure. So I get whipsawed twice here. I stick the sell. They fill me somehow. Yeah, just on aggressive buying, the Q pulling. So liquidity completely evaporated. And that's 3 losses in a row. Meaning those trades are kind of coin tosses. Or something here is less that they're coin tosses, and that there's something here going on that I don't know about. And then tape 9:01, 9 o'clock. Just gets too fast to read. But I know we're probably getting another unidirectional move. We're probably going down again, which is where I made all my money, so I'm going to watch that. See? Tape stops again. there. Then the Q plunges there, back at that same level we were talking about. It's something to get short. I missed the short. Price hits lower. We run over 46. Still watching 46. And this thin spot, 70, 50. 50 is where it stopped. 46 is where it stopped as well. If it's going to reverse, it's going to reverse here. Seller steps in. That's a big enough conviction from me. It's a seller showing up. And that's a good place to put my stop. The seller's gone now. Time to flip, especially because we're in the LVN. You know, if I get whipsawed, it's whatever. We're defending 52.50 now. Now we're in a thicker part of the distribution. I thought we were out of it, but we're not. We're still pushing higher though. And then tape explodes. So we're rallying off of low of day now. And so I'm looking for the, if I'm going to long here, I'm looking for the meat of the move. Meat, what I mean by that is how can is the trade is contingent on how fast the move to the upside is. If it's slowing down and back ticking a lot, I don't want it, because that means I'm on the tail end. Relative to the profile, it's a good place to long because it's so thin. See how tape is slowing down now after it exploded. You know, momentum's decreasing. We're back down at 54, which is kind of the focal point from the thicker part of the distribution. There's spoofed sell pressure there, so it looks like a fake pullback in hindsight because sellers aren't willing to commit. I wouldn't be surprised if 54 holds. And then there's a 117 that pulls. So there's a big auction here now, and it doesn't look like sellers are winning. They're just getting absorbed. And then we're back down there. $47.50 is the low of day. So it looks, we just stopped up there. No, low of day is 45. This is another big volatility short off of holding 50 as the value area. See more sellers down there and value holding. They're being rewarded for their trades. The value's holding again when it should be reversing at 49.20 at 49.25. $47 sat, still bearish. 48.50, good place to short, assuming there's a seller there. We got to 48.50, there wasn't a seller. Now there's a seller. Now there's another seller. Q plunges. So I was off on the entry. Big selling downside, inside prints, really good. Probably a bid, 46.25, a short right there. The Q pulls, it's even better. Yeah, and then the market adjusts and throws it lower on no liquidity. So it was just a spoof. 44, 132.25. Big size again. I'm pulling orders here because there's an auction here, but the tape is kind of lousy, and it's also slow. That's why I'm pulling orders. I'm only looking for 3-4 ticks here because the opportunity is gone, most likely. 30 sells there, 42.75. That's good. We came back down. That's even better. It's probably going to break in a second if that continues. And then buyers step in. Sellers shows up though, Q side, so they still want it lower, market makers. But now we're defending 42.25. It's time to get out. Second time it's happened. What was that? 4 tick stop? Much better than losing the other, 12 ticks, whatever. And I said it was time to get out, and it puked in the opposite direction, so that's just how it'd be. I could have hit the flat key, but and then all that just hit low day again. Kind of an antsy push here, mainly off of momentum, not off of inside prints, just on speed of tape. And the fact that there's an order there, 162, the market likes to fill liquidity, or it likes to push in the opposite direction, but there's big sell pressure here from passive participants, and that's why the tape is moving so fast. That's the indication that there is sell side pressure here, is because the tape is moving very fast. And so I'm looking for 40. If 163 showed up in the queue and price started moving in the opposite direction, slow, a little bit slower, or significantly slower than how it's moving right now, you would interpret the order as bullish. But that's not happening. I'm just looking for 2 ticks of slippage below the 40. The fact that they can't fill it though makes me uneasy. And then 165 trades, and then it slips 4 ticks, and then sellers show up again at 25, but they show up again off of slippage. They got the worst price possible. So 161.06 shows up again, and then it plunges. See how price rallies 4 or 5 ticks temporarily, then we come back down. So sell pressure is still there. We're testing liquidity there. 22 trades, goes out. So the fact that the queue stuck and then gone. So a bunch of people front ran it, and then I don't know if their models adjusted or whatever, and they realized we were in a downtrend and they pulled their orders. Okay, I have to go to work.